Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories, where we play tales to take you away from today. Okay, what does broken glass, a dream about horses, a paralyzed man, a group of lost astronauts, and a mail run on the moon have in common? What? Don't know? Well, they're all parts from stories that we have in today's podcasts. Want to get started? Let's do this. Here is a 5-minute mystery.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by broken glass. Nobody wants it. Nobody needs it. So why do we have it? Archaeologists have found evidence of man-made glass which dates back to 4000 BC. Now, if you're in the know, then you know that glass has been around for a long, long time. So remember, glass is your friend until it's not.
Police headquarters, Inspector Harris speaking.
Inspector Harris, this is Peter Arnold.
Yeah, what can I do for you?
Inspector Harris, I think I'm going to be murdered.
What?
Just a minute ago, I received an anonymous letter threatening my life.
Have you any idea who it's from?
No.
Where are you now?
I'm at my office in the Acme building, 10th floor.
I'll be right over. Stay right where you are.
Oh, yes, Inspector. Only hurry.
Here's the place, Chief. The Acme building.
Okay.
Hope we're not too late.
Well, if we hurry, we can...
What's the matter, Chief?
Yeah. On the street, little pieces of glass.
Glass? Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
Hey, Chief. Look up there. See that broken window?
That's Arnold's office. Come on, Stacy. Something's wrong up there. What's happened up here?
Who are you?
We're the police. I'm Inspector Harris, and this is my assistant, Joe Stacy.
Oh, am I glad you've come. I'm Lois Cranston, Mr. Arnold's secretary.
Yeah?
Something terrible's happened. Mr. Arnold locked himself in this office.
Yes?
And just a minute ago, I heard a shot and then glass breaking.
Come on, Stacy. Help me break down this door.
Okay.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There.
Holy Moses. Look, Chief.
Is anything wrong? And Mr. Arnold.
Will you look at that? A bullet hole right through his head.
And the window's broken. The murderer must have been standing on the roof of that building across the alleyway and fired through this window.
I'm afraid you're wrong.
What do you mean?
I mean that I'm arresting you, Miss Cranston, for the murder of Peter Arnold.
How does the inspector know that Miss Cranston murdered Peter Arnold? We'll give you the solution in just a moment. But first...
Okay, let's look at the facts of this case. Does this one qualify as a locked door mystery? On that count, no. Does the evidence suggest that she did it? Well, actually, for the first time in the show's history, a big, resounding yes. Why, you may ask? Well, it's all in the glass. Let's go back and see if I'm right. This 5-minute mystery is brought to you by Broken Glass. If you have it, clean it up before someone gets hurt.
And now, back to our story.
Mr. Arnold was shot from outside. The broken glass proves it.
Oh, that's what you've tried to make us believe. No, Miss Cranston. You shot Peter Arnold from this very room, broke the window to make it look like the shooting was done from outside, and then went out and locked the door. It would have been a perfect murder, except for one thing.
What was that?
The broken window. You see, we found the fragments of glass on the street.
Well?
If the bullet had been fired from the outside, the fragments of glass would have gone in the direction of fire. In other words, the glass would have landed inside the room, not on the street. No, Miss Cranston, you murdered Peter Arnold. I don't know why you did it, but we'll soon get the story out of you at headquarters.
so. It's the little things that get you, like forgetting all about physics when committing a murder. This 5-Minute Mystery was brought to you by Broken Glass. Nobody wants it. Nobody needs it. So why do we have it? Did you know that it was the Romans that first perfected the art of glass blowing? This made modern glass possible. It's true, and you can even look it up. Thank you for listening to this 5-Minute Mystery.
It's that you say?
I have to say thank you to everyone that responded to last week's show. I talked a bit about my brother and asked you for your thoughts and prayers. The response was amazing, and I passed along your comments to him. He completed his surgery and now is in the recovery phase. I want to say a special thanks to Tom Williams. Not only did Tom send along his best wishes, but he also sent this. Hello from Berlin, Germany. I've been recently listening to your podcast on TuneIn Radio and enjoy it very much. I'm not sure the experiences I've had many years ago falls into your categories, but here it goes. My grandmother is of American Indian descent. She always told me stories of the old days and of the beliefs that were passed on to her. One belief was that if you had a nice dream and wanted it to come true, just tell the dream in detail before the first meal of the day. Normally breakfast. It will come true, she said. I've never forgotten this because this did come to pass for me. When I was 14 years old, we lived out in the country in an old farmhouse, and this is where my first experience occurred. I had a vivid dream that a horse came down the road from left to right looking out from our old front porch. I remember the color and the markings of the horse very well. The moment I awoke, I ran to my mom and told her about my dream. I always wanted a horse and begged her to let me stay home and capture it. She refused and said I had to go to school that day. After breakfast, I was sent on my way to catch the school bus on the main highway, which was about a mile from the house. I was bound and determined not to go to school, so I walked as slow as possible, and for some strange reason, wink, I missed the school bus. I knew that Dad's car wasn't running, so I had my chance for a free horse. I found an old rope, made a lasso, sat on the porch, and waited. Grandmother was right. That same horse in my dream came by heading in the same direction. However, before I could go out and capture the animal, my father stopped me. He said, "Never mess with a wild horse, son. You know that my dad was thrown from one and died." Well, it was too bad, but my grandmother was right. My second story comes from the 70s. We were living in Ohio at the time. My wife worked days and I worked nights. Early one morning, I awoke without opening my eyes. I could hear my wife moving about in the next room. I found that I was laying on my back with my hands on my chest. Also, without panic, I realized that I was completely paralyzed and could not even open my eyelids. I tried to move my foot and make a sound to shake myself out of this. Nothing worked. I hoped that my wife would brush against the bed and release me from this strange condition. I was fully alert, but trapped in this paralyzed body. Still not panicking and finding this condition interesting, I tried another method to get me out of it. I thought that if I could stretch my arms out wide, this would help. Then I thought it and felt that I really did move my physical arms. Then my eyes opened to see for a split second my physical hands were still on my chest, and at the same time I saw my spirit hands slide into my physical hands like putting on gloves. All the best from Berlin, Germany, and my prayers go out to your brother, Tom Williams. You did indeed, Tom, and thank you very much for your stories. If you go back to episode 6 of the Horror Express, you'll find that you and I have something in common. I too have had the experience you described in your second story. Not once, but several times. It is a true phenomenon. Also, I want to thank you for your prayers. My brother was very impressed that they came all the way from Berlin. And now for this week's OTR Tale. When I first heard our story for today, I was transfixed, held in the moment, thinking, what would I do? You can't help but do that as you listen to this story. The acting in this one is incredible and heartfelt. It was as if the actors knew that this was going to be something special. It comes from the series Suspense and tells the story about 6 surviving crew members of a destroyed spaceship. The story is an adaptation of a famous tale written by Ray Bradbury. More about this after we listen. For now, prepare yourself for something amazing. The story is called Kaleidoscope, and it stars William Conrad. It first hit the radio waves on July 12, 1955, and is probably still floating around out there in space.
And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we depart from the usual to bring you a play from one of the greatest authors of science fiction, Mr. Ray Bradbury. It is the story of a last voyage in a spaceship and the 6 men who took it. So now, starring Mr. William Conrad, here is tonight's suspense play, Kaleidoscope.
She was a spaceship cargo carrier, 7 years old, with over 1.5 million miles lost in her wake. Within her metallic skin was the world of the crew, an atom of life surrounded by a vast expanse of nothingness. The ship and the crew were owned by the company, a third-class vessel operated by third-class personnel, and each of us hoping that in our day would come promotion to second class, or even to first in the great hushed passenger liners, which were also owned by the company. The company ran everything. There wasn't anyone else to work for, and you accepted what was given, not gratefully, but with hope. There were 19 of us to begin with on a routine voyage. Our cargo, seasoned lumber. I was at control on the second day out, Stone navigating.
On the nose.
Good. Control, bearing mark, Captain.
Right. Hollis, where's the captain?
In his cabin.
On the bottle again, huh?
Why didn't you ask him?
I don't have to, Stoney. I can smell him all the way out.
You want something, Applegate?
C-tube's blowing again.
It isn't showing on the indicator.
I can't help that.
Wait a minute. Captain, control.
Yeah.
Applegate reports C-tube blowing, sir.
Oh?
It doesn't show on the indicator, sir.
All right. I'll be right there. Now, what was the idea of that?
What?
Telling him it didn't show. You trying to louse me up?
You better keep check on that tube.
Who's giving orders?
I am.
My sash to you, friend.
Oh, come on, Applegate. I don't want to blow up. I've got 2 weeks of pay coming when we get back.
Yeah, give me a power check, will you?
Sure.
Something must be haywire with the indicator.
Get it straightened out, Hollis.
She's not firing in sequence, sir. Heating up, too.
Let me see. I don't like this. Rockets, this is the captain.
Stimson, sir. It's C-tube, I think. Heating the others, too. Lockout's frozen.
Use emergency.
Stand by.
Come on, come on.
Control, this is Applegate. Emergency doesn't answer. It's getting too hot.
Maybe it'll answer from here, sir.
Applegate, get your men out of there. Stand by to abandon.
Keep going, sir. Shall I sound the alarm?
Yes. This is the captain. This is the captain. Get into your suits. You've got about 2 minutes, maybe less. Get into your suits. The ship is going to explode. Get into your suits. Abandon. Abandon. Get into your suits. Get into your suits.
The concussion cut the spaceship up the side like a giant can opener. Those of us who weren't immediately killed were thrown into space like wriggling silverfish, scattered into a dark sea. And the ship, in a million pieces, went on, a meteor swarm seeking a lost sun.
Captain! Stone!
The sound of our voices calling like lost children on a cold night.
Captain! Who's called?
Hollis. Hollis, this is Stone.
Hello!
Stone? Stone, this is Hollis. Where are you?
I don't know. How can I? Which way is up? I'm falling. Oh, God, I'm falling.
We're going away from each other.
Who is that? This is the captain. Who is that?
Lester!
Captain!
Where are you?
We were hurtling in space in every direction. And now, instead of men, there were only voices. Voices communicating by radiophone. All kinds of voices, disembodied and impassioned in varying degrees of terror and resignation, all moving away from one another. We were wearing our sealed-tight spacesuits with glass tubes over our faces, but there hadn't been time to lock on the propulsion units. Not time enough. And without them, we were meteors, senseless, each going to a separate and irrevocable fate.
This is the captain. I want a roll call. Who is that?
This is Applegate.
Sir, Applegate. Next?
Lester!
Who?
Lester!
Stimson.
Lesper, Stimson, Stone.
Hollis.
Anybody else? Anyone else?
Stone to Hollis. How long can we talk by phone?
Well, it depends on how fast you're going your way and I'm going mine.
An hour, I make it. What happened?
The rocket blew up. Didn't you feel it? That's all. Rockets do blow up. Which way are you going?
It looks like I'll hit the moon.
Well, it's Earth for me.
That's nice.
Back to old Mother Earth at 10,000 miles an hour. I'll burn like a match when I hit the atmosphere.
A long,
Well, Stone's going to the moon.
way down.
I know where I'd like to see Applegate go.
I don't want to die. I don't want to die. It's a long way down.
Who's that? I don't know.
Stimson, I think. Stimson, is that you? This is Hollis.
It's a long, long way, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Stimson, this is Hollis. Stimson, do you hear me? Stimson?
Yes.
You take it easy now.
I don't want to
We're
be
all
here.
in the same fix.
I don't want to be here. I'm afraid.
There's a chance we'll be found.
I heard that. Oh, what a liar you are, Hollis.
You shut up, Applegate.
But come and make me. Come on, Hollis. Come and make me shut up.
I don't believe this. I don't believe any of this is happening. Not to me. It's a bad dream.
Now, take it easy, Stimson.
Hey, you know, I don't feel so bad.
Who's that?
It's me, Stone Lester. I was just thinking. I've had a pretty good time. Lots of good times. Hey, did I ever tell you about my wife?
Which one?
Who's that?
Applegate.
Oh, sure. How do you feel, Applegate?
Oh, why don't you shut up?
No kidding about my wife, the one on Mars. Did I ever tell you?
That's enough. This is the captain. We've got to figure a way out of this. Make a plan.
I sash to you, Captain.
What did you say?
Oh, you heard me. Don't try pulling rank on me. You're 10,000 miles away by now.
You listen to me, Applegate.
Consider this a mutiny of one, Captain. Hang me. Kill me. Look, I want to tell you something. Your ship was a bad ship, and you were a bad captain, and I hope you break wherever you're going.
I'm ordering you to stop, Applegate.
Be my guest. Order me some more. You're going to put me in chains till we land? Marsash to you, Captain.
Hey, fellas, let me tell you about my wife, the one on Venus. It doesn't matter now. I guess anybody can know now. Oh, listen, I had it real good. One wife on Mars, another on Venus, one on Jupiter. Oh, boy, what a time. Hey, Stone.
Yeah?
Remember the time we put into Marsport for repairs?
I remember.
Well, that's when I met the first one. You know what those Mars girls are like. Well...
L'Espere went on and on with his talk about his wives. An interplanetary bigamist. His money, his wonderful times, drunkenness, gambling. On and on, while we fell in space away from each other. L'Espere reminiscing on the past, happy while he fell to his death. Space. Thousands of miles of space and the voice vibrating in the center of it. No one visible at all, only the radio waves quivering and trying to quicken other men into emotion.
I tell you, when a man's had a life like I've had, it's not so bad. Not much left for me to do, I guess.
Men, this is the captain. I want you to know that I'm very grateful for your loyalty. You've been a good crew. Hollis, Stone, if you get out of this, I had you both posted for a promotion. It'll go through when you report. Applegate, I wish that...
Captain? Captain?
Into one, a meteorite got him. Any takers?
Hollis, can you think of something? Something to do?
Why ask him, Stinson? I'll tell you something to do. Make it quick, easy. Open the valve on your suit. We're finished, all of us. Who cares? No one's going to cry over me.
And we fell through space. 5 of us living, each in his orbit of loneliness, moving away from the other. From this outer edge of my life, looking back, there was one remorse. And that, only that I wish I could go on living.
All dying people feel that way, Hollis.
What? Oh, Stone, I didn't know I was thinking out loud. It's funny, as if I'd never lived.
Yeah, I know. Hollis? Hey, Hollis.
What is it?
It's Applegate again.
All right, what?
Let's you and me talk, huh?
Go ahead.
You hate my guts, don't you?
I never thought much about it.
Oh, don't give me that. You with that superior way of yours. I want to tell you something. I was the one who blackballed you with the rocket company 5 years ago. Did you hear me?
I heard you.
Well, how does that make you feel?
Nothing.
You wanted to get to the top all your life, I know. I'll bet you always wondered what happened. Well, it was me. See, I put the black mark on you before I was tossed out myself.
It isn't important.
Well, I had a good time. Yeah, it's a good thing to think about, too. I had a wife on Mars, Venus, one in Jupiter.
So you said, L'Espere.
And I'm saying it again. I like to think about it. They all had money, too. Oh, yes, they treated me just fine. You know, once I got drunk and gambled $20,000. $20,000 in one night. Just like that. Oh, it's been a good life.
But you're here now, L'Espere. I didn't have any of those things. I was jealous of you. Funny little man. How did you rate it? The women, the good times. Women frightened me. And I went into space always wanting them. Jealous of you for having them. And money. And as much happiness as man could want. Well, I'm not jealous anymore, though. Because it's over for you just the way it is for me. Now it's like it never was. It's all over, Lesper. It just never was. You hear me, Lesper?
Who's that?
It's Hollis. Do you hear me? You're out here, Lesper, falling, dying. It's all over. It's just as if it never happened, isn't it?
No. It happened.
When anything's over, it's just like it never happened. Where's your life any better than mine now, huh? Now's what counts. Is it any better? Is it?
Yes, it's better.
How?
Because I've got my thoughts. Good thoughts. I remember.
Thoughts. What good? What good are they? You gonna be rescued? You gonna live more than a few hours?
I'm resting easy. I've had my turn. I'm not getting vicious at the end. Not like you.
Vicious? Vicious?
Take it easy, Hollis.
I know how you feel, Hollis. I don't take it personally. You're all right. I always thought that.
Hey, what?
What's the matter?
I can see something.
Stone?
Yeah, I can see lights. They look like lights.
But where?
What?
Where? Where are you? Must be a ship. Maybe they'll see us. Which way are you going, Stone?
It's lights, I tell you. I can see them plain.
Which way? Which way? Where are you, Stone? Where?
Guess what?
Huh? What? Stone?
What?
I got myself into a meteor swarm, little asteroid.
Meteors?
Yes, I think it's the Myrmidon cluster. You know, Hollis, the one that goes out past Mars and in toward Earth once every 5 years. Well, I'm right in the middle.
Stone!
It's like a big kaleidoscope. That's what I thought with the light. All kinds of colors and shapes. It's beautiful. All that metal. I'm going with them. They're taking me with them. I'll be...
Stone!
So long, Hollis. So long.
Good luck, Stone!
Don't be funny.
I looked. There was nothing. Only the great diamonds and sapphire and emerald mists and velvet inks of space. And then in the sudden calmness of his going, there was a kind of wonder in the thought of Stone going off in the meteor swarm, out past Mars for years, and coming in toward Earth every 5 years, passing in and out for the next million centuries.
Hollis? This is Lesper. You all right?
Yes, I'm fine.
I can't hear you so good. You there? Hollis?
This is Hollis. I'm okay. You?
Hollis, there must be something wrong with the phone. Hollis? Can you hear me? Say something, will you?
Turn up the booster. Turn up your booster.
Hollis, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Hey, that's fine now, yeah. Oh, I thought you were gone. Who are you talking to?
The Stone.
Hey, who else is around?
Applegate. Applegate.
I'm here.
Simpson.
Hey, Simpson. I guess he's gone, too.
Lesper, can you see anything?
I wasn't looking, I was thinking. I figure I'll hit Mars. Mars. Wouldn't that be something if I landed in the wife's backyard? She'd get a kick out of that. That's pretty funny, huh?
Is that you, Applegate?
No, I thought it was you.
Hollis?
No, it must be Simpson. Simpson!
I want to wake up! Mama! I want to wake up!
Make him stop, will you?
Simpson!
Shut him up!
Simpson, will you listen to me? Now, Simpson, listen to me. Applegate's right. It'll be easier. You open your valve. Open it. Listen to me, Simpson. Open your valve. Now. Do it now. It won't hurt. Only a second, Simpson. Open your valve, Simpson.
Hollis? Applegate?
Yeah,
Has he gone?
I guess so.
Oh. Hey, anybody know what time it is?
Oh, what do you care?
What'd you say? Applegate. The boost is fading. What did you say?
I don't know.
Oh, well, I guess it doesn't matter. Habit, I suppose. You mind if I keep talking? Kinda passes the time.
The goodbyes, voices dying, men dying. The awareness of life, my own. What can I do? Is there anything I can do to make up for a terrible and empty life? If only I could do one good thing to make up for the meanness I collected all these years and didn't even know it was in me.
Hollis? Hollis, this is Applegate.
Yes?
Hollis, that was right you told Stimson to do. I said it to make him feel bad, but you did it right.
I murdered him.
No, you didn't. Listen, Hollis, this isn't good, this thing between you and me. It's a bad way to die. Are you listening, Hollis?
Yes, I'm listening.
I lied. I didn't blackball you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Listening to your talk when you were saying those things to Lespair about it not mattering, and he said about you being vicious, made me ashamed. I've been like that, too.
It's all right. I understand. Can you get Lespair?
No, he was gone an hour ago. Can you hear him?
No. Last thing I heard, he was singing a dirty song.
Quite a guy.
Yeah.
You're fading out.
You too.
What?
I hope everything's okay with you, Applegate. I hope you go to heaven or wherever you want. I hope for you.
You're getting soft, Hollis. Better open your valve. So long.
Take it easy, Applegate.
So long, Hollis. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Applegate! Applegate! So long. Any time now, I'll hit the Earth's atmosphere. I'll burn and be scattered in ashes all over the continental lands. And I'll be put to use. Just a little bit, but ashes are ashes, and they'll add to the land. I wanted to make something of my life. To be liked. To do good for people. To make them happy. Now it's all gone. I wish I could do a good thing. Just something for me to know about. When I hit the atmosphere, I'll burn like a meteor. I wonder if anyone will see me.
Time for bed, Sonny.
Okay. Hey. Look up there, Mom. A falling star.
I saw it. Make a wish, dear. Make a wish.
Suspense, in which Mr. William Conrad starred in tonight's presentation of Kaleidoscope, written by Ray Bradbury. Suspense is produced and directed by Anthony Ellis, who adapted tonight's script. The music was composed by René Garrigan and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Special technical effects by Robert Chadwick. Featured in the cast were Stacey Harris, Parley Bear, Howard McNear, John Daner, Sam Edwards, Georgia Ellis, and Master Jonathan Ellis.
This is the CBS Radio Network.
And we fell through space. 5 of us living, each in his orbit of loneliness, moving away from the others. From the outer edge of my life, looking back, there was one remorse. I wish I could have gone on living. What an amazing story. I had to say, it would be hard to find better in the annals of old-time radio. It was based on a short story by Ray Bradbury, first published in the October 1949 edition of Thrilling Wonder Stories. Bradbury would later reprint this story in 1951 as part of The Illustrated Man. I remember reading this story as a class project my senior year in high school. Did you catch the cast members by chance? For the fans of Gunsmoke, the episode will be of particular interest because it was composed of the main actors from the radio series. This included its star, William Conrad, Parley Bear, Howard McNear, John Daner, Sam Edwards, and Georgia Ellis. As an added bonus, Georgia's son, Jonathan, played the child at the end. What was so very effective about this story is the way in which many of the characters confronted the fact that they had not made much of their lives as they could have, and regret the choices they had made. All of this makes for compelling, if sometimes uncomfortable, listening. There's not much to the actual plot, but then, did there need to be? I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. This truly is a classic old-time radio program.
As read by. Amazing stories read by amazing people.
This time on As Read By, we have a story written by Richard M. Elam. It comes from a 1957 book called Young Readers' Science Fiction Stories. This book contains 13 stories about the early explorations of space from the child's point of view. Our story is called The Space Mail Run and is read by David Wells.
The way he felt now, Jerry Welsh was almost sorry he had left Earth. The moonship landing seemed to be crushing the very life out of him, although he lay flat on a couch to ease the strain. Jerry turned his head toward his father, who was strapped down like himself, and suffering too. The craft was under its own control, for no human could withstand the rocket's present speed and still be able to steer in for a landing. Captain Welsh was on his bi-weekly mail run to Luna, the moon, and for the first time in 10 years of service he had a passenger, his own 12-year-old son. At last Jerry felt a hard jolt under him. He knew the rocket's tail fins had finally touched ground. Jerry unstrapped himself with rubbery fingers and sat up. Then he tried to stand, but flopped down again. "Wow, I feel giddy," he groaned. His father laughed. "You'll get your bearings presently, son." How long Jerry had waited to make this space mail run with his father. Then finally last year Captain Welsh had said that Jerry could go with him when he became 12, as he was especially husky and strong for his age. But now that the great moment had come at last, Jerry wasn't sure he was enjoying it as he had expected, for he had found space so vast, so dark, and so frightening. "Do you still want to be a spaceman, Jerry?" his father asked suddenly, as though Jerry had spoken his thoughts aloud. I think so, Dad," he replied hesitantly. "I see you're doubtful, Jerry," Captain Welsh said. "I won't put you on the spot so early." They climbed into space gear, electrically heated suits and clear plastic helmets fitted with radios. Lastly, they donned oxygen tanks and flooded their suits with the life-sustaining gas. They gathered up the mail sacks and climbed down the ladder to the ground, heading for the largest of a group of buildings which made up Moon Haven, center of Earthmen's activity on the airless planet. The stars burned fantastically bright overhead. Traces of frost topped the distant lunar Alps. It was incredibly cold out here, for the moon was in its 2-week period of night. Captain Welsh got a receipt for the largest mail bag, and then he and Jerry went out a rear door of the building carrying the rest. An atom-powered mail car awaited them. It had an open top and huge wheels that looked like saw-toothed gears. "Climb aboard the moon jeep, Jerry," his father said. "We've got 10 mail deliveries to make." Inside, Captain Welsh pulled down a section of the dash panel revealing a map. "Here's a map of our route. There aren't many mail stops on the moon yet, but they are all important." "And the mail must go through," Jerry added. Captain Welsh nodded soberly. "Well, that's the first law, Jerry." As they moved off, Jerry saw the big friendly globe of Earth hanging like a green jewel halfway up the jet-black sky. He wondered what his mother and baby sister were doing this moment 250,000 miles away. Captain Welsh showed Jerry how to run the jeep. Jerry found this easy, for he had already had a course in mechanics in preparation for his future career as a spaceman. But some time later their peaceful ride was interrupted when Captain Welsh suddenly leaned over and grabbed the wheel. Jerry was thrown to the side as the car swerved. The vehicle straightened out and slammed to a halt as his father controlled the wheel and applied the brakes. "What happened?" Jerry breathed, his heart pounding. His father pointed behind them. "Look!" Jerry turned and saw the edge of a treacherous ditch running right across the roadway where they would have passed over. The gorge was several feet wide. "I didn't even see it," Jerry murmured, sick with fear at what might have happened. This wasn't the first time he'd been shaken on this journey. It made him wonder, as he had once before, if he had what it took to be a spaceman, or if this adventure would make him decide never to leave the atmosphere of Earth again. "Scared?" his father asked. Jerry nodded. "Don't worry. I was too, for a moment." "You were?" Jerry asked with surprise. "Fear was given to man so he could save himself from danger, Jerry," Captain Welsh said. "Don't be ashamed of it. Fear is nothing to be ashamed of unless you let it get the best of you. Never forget that." They arrived at their first delivery point, an engineering project on a plateau surrounded by mountains. There were the foundations of great buildings to come, constructed of hard lunar granite. The space-suited figures came running when they recognized Captain Welsh and his mail car. Jerry marveled how the formerly stern expression of the workmen brightened when the foreman handed mail out to them. "It must be fun bringing mail to men who are so far from their homes and families," Jerry said when they were on their way again. "I guess that's why I've put up with the lonely hours of seeing nothing but stardust for the past 10 years, Captain Welsh answered. "But I love it, son, and I wouldn't trade jobs with any man." Their next delivery site was a cavern where men were prospecting for uranium. They, too, were overjoyed at receiving messages from home. The jeep rolled on from there to a huge plane which was being prepared for a future spaceport. Captain Welsh and his helper dropped off another mail sack and then were on their way again. Some hours later, all but 2 deliveries had been made. "Next stop is the Astronomy Observatory," Captain Welsh told Jerry. They crawled over sandy hills that taxed the gripping power of their spiked wheels, wound in and out of towering buttresses of black basalt, and bored through natural tunnels like a pair of human moles. Then the observatory came into view. A smiling little scientist with thick glasses signed for the mail at the door. He invited Jerry to come back and visit the place before he returned to Earth. "You haven't seen anything until you look through their great telescope," Captain Welsh told Jerry as they drove off. "What's our last stop?" Jerry wanted to know. "A geology camp where some scientists are digging into ancient rocks," his father said. "It's only about 7 miles away, but the going will be a little rough before we get there. It's a good thing it's our last stop, because we don't have too much oxygen left in our shoulder tanks. I usually don't take this long on a mail run." The roadway carried them through a narrow pass with a high hill of loose rock on one side and a sloping embankment on the other. Jerry's first warning of trouble came when he was flung suddenly forward. He heard the sickening drag of the wheels as his father's boot hit the brakes. Just ahead of them he saw a cascade of rocks sliding down the hill. The next moment Jerry felt an even harder blow as the Jeep was grazed by one of the large boulders. The small car was swept out of the roadway like a toy and rammed against a pillar at the cliff edge. Jerry screamed in fear as he felt himself being thrown out of the car. He struck the ground hard and began rolling head over heels down the precipice. When the numbing shock of his fall had worn off, Jerry climbed dazedly to his feet and looked up the slope down which he had been thrown. "Dad!" he cried. He slipped and scrambled up the incline in reckless haste. He found Captain Welsh sprawled unconscious just below the upper brink of the precipice. Jerry knelt and looked into his face through the clear plastic helmet. His father's eyes were closed, and there was an ugly bruise on his forehead where it must have struck the helmet in his fall. "What am I going to do?" Jerry groaned aloud. He himself would have to make the decisions and carry them through if the two of them were to survive. It was a shocking thought. Then it came to him what his father had said about fear. A person need never be ashamed of fear so long as it was not permitted to get the upper hand. Jerry pulled his father up onto the roadway and tried to bring him around, but without result. Jerry examined the Jeep. One side was badly smashed, but the engine still appeared sound. The car was tipped over against the rock column. Jerry was thankful that the Jeep was only 1/6 of its earth weight on the moon. It was a tremendous effort, but he finally righted the car and got it back on the road. He jumped into the front seat and started the engine. It sputtered and then hummed into activity. Jerry studied the map on the panel. He located their present position by the giant crater, Plato, at his distant right. Then he traced the winding route leading to the geology camp. He was closer to the camp than the observatory, but ahead lay a rugged route, one with which Jerry was totally unfamiliar. He got out and went back to where Captain Welsh lay. "Which way should I go, Dad? Ahead or back?" he asked helplessly, just as though his father were able to answer him. Something told him that Captain Welsh would want him to go ahead, to finish the mail run that had never missed a round in 10 years. Jerry got his father into the back seat, then gunned the Jeep and struck off into the unknown ahead. He was thankful for the old worn trail that led the way for him. It presently carried him through a gloomy valley. Jerry switched on his headlights, but the twin spears of brightness gave him little comfort in the spooky place. Grotesque rock columns rose like menacing ghosts on both sides of him. At last he was out in the open again. The road led him around the steep edge of a yawning crater, evidently caused by a huge crashing fireball from outer space. Jerry carefully guided the Jeep along the dangerous cliff. If one of his wheels should slip over the side, it would be a fall to frightful death 100 feet straight down. At last even this peril was past, and Jerry drove up a gradual incline over bare rock to a bluff that overlooked the distant land for many miles. "The camp!" he said joyfully. "That's it below, only a few miles away." He followed a curve that swept onto the plain below. When he was on a level again, it seemed that all his troubles were over. He felt better by the moment as he drove closer and closer to his destination. Then, without warning, his wheels began to bog down in a pumice mire. His heart did a flip-flop, and he checked the map. He saw a warning to drivers to avoid this spot. In his overconfidence, he had blundered right into it. He gave the little Jeep full power. It jerked crazily through the clinging stuff. Over to the right, the pumice seemed to thin out, and farther over he could see the roadway he should have taken. He swung his wheels to the right, and the Jeep lurched through the gray sand, using up a lot of power, but making little progress. For minutes on end, Jerry gave the Jeep all it had, and he could hear its engine laboring tiredly. Suddenly, the motor died. Jerry tried to start it again, but could not. He checked his temperature gauge. The engine was extremely hot from the continual use of top power. From his mechanical school course, Jerry realized the rotors had frozen and that it wouldn't run again until they had cooled off. As he waited impatiently for the engine to cool, a warning voice in his mind was saying, "Your oxygen is getting lower by the second. If the Jeep doesn't get out of here within the next 15 minutes, you and your dad will never make it." Jerry shook off the terrible thoughts. He stamped his feet to warm them. The electric circuit in his suit seemed to be breaking down. If it collapsed completely, he would be frozen instantly by the lunar cold. Jerry massaged his dad's hands and legs in case his suit, too, was getting colder. He worked steadily until his hands ached. Then he checked the gauge again. It was falling slowly, but heavy insulation was still keeping the engine hot. At last, Jerry decided he should not wait any longer. With a prayer on his lips, he pressed the starter button. The engine rumbled sluggishly, coughed, then quickened to full strength. He jammed the fuel pedal hard and tried to guide the Jeep's swirling, spinning motion through the lunar sand. Slowly, the little car pulled itself like a weary swimmer toward the firm bank. Finally, the wheels found good traction and the Jeep lurched onto the roadway. Jerry heaved a tremendous sigh and sped down the path toward the geology camp. Less than an hour later, Jerry was being permitted into the room of one of the huts where his father had been carried for examination by the camp physician. Jerry had been told that his father had suffered a slight concussion, but that he would be all right. Captain Welsh smiled from his cot as Jerry walked in. "Hi, spaceman," his father greeted. "The doctor says the men here were mighty happy to get their mail on time." "I'm glad I came on here then instead of going back to the observatory," Jerry murmured. "You did the job in the best tradition of the space mail service, Jerry," Captain Welsh said, smiling proudly. "If I had any doubts that you'd be able to follow me someday, son, they're gone now." Jerry nodded happily.
Thank you, David. Our author today was Richard M. Elam. His early work was chiefly written for young readers. Much of his output was science fiction and appeared in publications like Boy's Life, Teen Vogue, and Discover. His first novel, Young Visitor to Mars, tells the story of teenage heroes who help discover the reason for the extinction of the Martian race. It's actually pretty good stuff. This is it. The end of the podcast has come. I hope you enjoyed the end result. I want to thank Tom Williams for his stories this week. I appreciate all of the stories we get. Want to hear yours on the show? Don't delay. Get it to me today. If you want to keep up with what's happening on Ron's Amazing Stories, please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or sign up for the weekly newsletter. All the links you'll need and access to the blog can be found at ronsamazingstories.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.